Forestry has made an important contribution to the Canadian economy since before Confederation. In the Ottawa Valley, forestry has remained the largest economic driver since the early 1800s. As a result of the recent global economic downturn, the forestry sector in the Ottawa Valley has suffered significant blows, resulting in thousands of jobs lost. Today, there's an opportunity to create sustainable jobs that will contribute to the production of green energy in Ontario for generations to come.
The Opeongo line was one of Ontario's really old colonization roads. It went actually from the Ottawa River right up to Algonquin Park. And at that time, there was a pretty aggressive effort underway by the government to get people to settle this part of the world. Of course, that lasted about 1 or 2 generations, and there was no way you could live off the farms. Somebody had the foresight to say, you know something, let's turn it back into a forest. So that's what they did. That's the reason so many of these plantations are here. And so here we are, we're back now. We're getting a good product out of an area like this. We're getting a natural forest back. It's not a green desert or an ecological black hole. It's a good example of progressive and far-sighted forest management, and it's worked really, really well.
In the Ottawa Valley, there are currently over 1 million metric tons of fiber available each year. This renewable resource could be used for a number of green energy initiatives, including the production of wood pellets and the conversion of wood waste to electricity, yielding a 0% carbon footprint.
My grandfather started the business in 1974 and started off with one sawmill. Since we've built another sawmill, one for larger diameter wood, one for smaller diameter wood. We've evolved that way to become more efficient in handling different sizes, different species, and now we've had to get creative in dealing with the residuals, dealing with the pulp, expanding our customer base for lumber. It takes a lot more effort these days to market all the products that come out of the bush, and you need it all to make it work at the end of the day. You can't just rely on lumber anymore. The chips, the bark, the sawdust, the pulp is all a vital part of the equation now.
We're standing beside, the outflow of the chips and the sawdust from the Heidemann mill. That becomes the base product for MDF, medium density fiberboard. It could, in fact, in future become the raw material for pelletization. And likely as not, as we go forward in our energy needs, we will see wood pellets being a fuel source. I use wood pellets in my house, as a matter of fact. We can't just take the good saw logs or the good poles. We have to be managing our forests, so we also take what they call the junk, what we referred to in old days as the junk forest products. There's also a market for that now, and by selling that as an end product, it makes the whole economic equation make sense, and it makes the production of lumber and other dimension products viable.
The two most important things, we need our land base protected and we need the fit rate increased. We need it increased from 13 cents upwards of 20 cents. Not a huge increase, small when you compare it to solar and to wind power. And green jobs would take off in this area, and the investment would flow in without any further subsidies, handouts, none of that stuff. We just need to create the culture and the environment for which it'll foster investment in those areas.
Renfrew County's been recognized on a global level for its green management of Ontario's natural resources. A German film crew from ZDF Television recently visited a number of forestry operations to document how Canadians are effectively managing their forests.
Probably 95% of our logging is selective, or we're cutting maybe 1 tree out of 3, 1 tree out of 4. All the trees are marked before we harvest, where people are trained technicians, licensed markers are going in there and selecting the best trees to mark. And it's not just about timber, it's about maintaining all of the forest values. You want to make sure you maintain wildlife habitat and protect watershed.
We're having a hard time getting enough logs to make enough lumber right now because we can't deal with the pulp. We can't deal with the volume of chips that we're producing in this area. We have upwards of 1 million ton of pulpwood quality wood that is homeless right now. And until we can find a use for that, it'll be impossible for us to fully recognize the opportunities that are available as far as job creation in this area.
We get so many products from the forest that we rely on day in, day out. They have to come from somewhere. Why don't we make sure that they come from Ontario where we know it's sustainably managed, we know it's well managed, we're keeping the jobs at home. Nobody in forestry's job is getting exported to Southeast Asia. You know, all of these jobs are staying right here. And let's make sure that we get more and more of a focus on wood in Ontario. They've done it in BC, they're doing it in California, where they're saying it's a first step for their municipal governments is, can we make it out of wood? Can we make it out of local wood? And I really, really think Ontario should go that way.
For nearly 200 years, the forestry sector has been a pillar of the Ottawa Valley's economy. As we look to the future, we are encouraged by new opportunities that will create green jobs, contributing to Ontario's energy solutions for generations to come.